Hello, hello everyone. Hello. So students, can you able to hear my voice? To hear my voice? Okay. Yes. Okay. So 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 shall we start? Shall we start our first day of JavaScript section? Hey, hello everyone. So I'm Hari Prasad, your new JavaScript tutor. I hope this make me a new journey for me. And so all of you, can you able to hear my voice clearly? Is this my voice is audible for you? Okay, thank you. That's clear. Thank you. Okay. Okay, so now we move on to the 5 days of workshop in JavaScript. Okay, so what we going to learn in this 5 days of workshop? Okay, so we're going to learn about JavaScript from the basics to the advanced concept. We're going to put our hands dirty in some of the year 6 classes and all too. Okay, so before getting into some of those classes, let's discuss about some basics about JavaScript, because wherever we go, we see a single word. As a developer, we go, we see a single word called JavaScript, 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 right? So we see this a single word in lots of places, right? So even in when you apply for a job, or even the content creator used to create more content in JavaScript, right? So this is because JavaScript is that much popular. And if you are learning JavaScript in 2022 or even before, it is going to be a life changer too. Okay, so we're going to discuss all the basic concept. If you are a beginner, if you are someone asked me like I'm a new for IT background, like that, if you are not from IT background, don't worry. If you know HTML and CSS, it's a little bit, it's enough for this. And you also don't need to learn HTML, CSS and JavaScript. To understand the concept, you need HTML and CSS. Okay, so in this 5 days we're going to learn about several topics in JavaScript. Okay, so before getting into the core concepts and we go getting into the boot camp, the one thing I want to tell you is, we given attendance forms at the end of the live sections. So please wait until the live section complete. Okay, so fill the attendance form and get your participation certificate. Okay, so it will more helpful for you choose to get a confidence and step forward. Okay, so, and this boot camp is not going to cover all entire thing about JavaScript, because that is not possible. Okay, so this is going to cover all the needed and necessary thing as a developer you need to understand. Okay, so and also it's going to have all the things that a developer, as a developer, you need. Okay, so if you are a beginner or if you are an intermediate, if you are an advanced developer, no problem with that, something you will get here. Okay, so that's it. Okay, so now we move on to the core concepts. Okay, so let's get into the concepts. So first of all, what is JavaScript? So this word itself have a confusion, right? So some people think like, is it Java is a JavaScript? They're calling Java JavaScript, something like that. And some people are thinking like that, right? So, so it has a confusion from the starting of the word itself, from the title card itself, right? So the reason for why JavaScript is named, there is no relationship between Java and JavaScript. But the company Netscape, who introduced the JavaScript, they say like they want to run the Java alphabets in the browsers. Okay, so that is the reason they are saying we named it as JavaScript like that. But still now most people are believing that JavaScript is named because of the this duration all this bootcamp can be applied for a job. I can say that you can get your hands dirty in this sections, but you need to do several projects in JavaScript. Also you're going to get the 5 days JavaScript project section 2. After completing this, you can apply for an beginner front-end developer intern and all those things. Okay, so so by using JavaScript, we're going to see about ES6 classes too. Okay, so in the ES6 classes, by using that, you can able to learn some frameworks like React, some other things are there, and that is also covered in our channel. So please, all the students present here, so give a subscribe and like, and just hit a like and notification icon. You get all the resources for the free in this YouTube channels. Okay, so don't miss it out. Okay, so come to the concepts. Okay, so JavaScript, the naming JavaScript naming has happened. It is a marketing strategy that, because Java is more popular. So in the time JavaScript is launched, if we do some prefix name with Java, that also becomes popular. So that is still most people believe. Okay, so that is why it's named as JavaScript. Okay, so other than that, there is no relationship between Java and JavaScript. Okay, so you don't want to worry about that. Okay, so the next confusion as a beginner, if you start to start a JavaScript, what come to your mind? Is it JavaScript is a programming language? You have a doubt like that, right? I can say yes, and now I can say yes, but in the starting when JavaScript was introduced, it is not come as a package of full programming language. It is not come like that. Okay, so as I think you know about front end, what is front end and what is back end, all those things, right? So you know about HTML and CSS, right? I know that by using HTML CSS, what we can learn, we can capable of developing a simple static website, right? So we can just develop a newsletter website, blog website by using HTML CSS. We can do that. So JavaScript, the main purpose of building a JavaScript is to make that website dynamic. What is mean by dynamic? What is mean by that? So give a life to that website. Okay, so JavaScript is an engine of that website. So it gives the dynamic, it gives a user interface interaction with that. Okay, so this is what JavaScript do. Okay, so that is the purpose JavaScript was introduced in the front end. So that is why JavaScript is called as an scripting language. Okay, so it's a client side scripting language, which means it is used in the front end part. but now but now that story is different. So JavaScript used in front end, back end, even in some other concepts like ML, all those things. Okay, so what all are the things and normal programming language do, now JavaScript is capable to do that. Okay, so we can consider JavaScript as a programming language too, but it is come at the beginning, it is comes from the client side scripting language. Okay, it's come for that. Okay, so this is the basic introductions about JavaScript. Okay, so now we move on to the concepts. Okay, so what all are the concepts we're going to learn, all those things we're going to see now. Okay, okay, so in this JavaScript, and before getting into that, you need to understand another thing. JavaScript is a high level interpreter language, so you don't need any other compiler. So if you use any other programming languages, you need some compiler to compile that code and you need to show it in your browser, all those things. But here you don't need that. Okay, so JavaScript is a high level interpret languages and it is in the browser. So all the browsers consist of that. So you don't need a compiler to compile all the JavaScript code. Okay, so within the browser you can able to code that. Okay, so the most important use of the JavaScript, I already told that it is used in the client side for the scripting languages. Okay, so now come to the core things. So what all are the topics we going to learn in this 5 days of boot camp by using JavaScript? Okay, so the topics we're going to learn is variables and data types. Of course, every programming languages we need to know what is variable, what is data type, the same. So here it's also variables and data types. We're going to see that, and we're going to see about arrays, and we're going to see about object literals, and we're going to cover some of the methods of the data types like strings, arrays, object, and etc. Okay, so and we're going to cover looping statement, what is loops, what is some loops. There are several loops are there, like for loops, while loops, for off, for in, so many loops is there for each. So we're going to cover all those things, loops, and we're going to have to work with the conditional statements too. And we're going to see about functional, like normal flat function, and also we're going to see about the ES6 concept, like arrow functions. We're going to discuss that too. Okay, so we're going to discuss that too. And at the end of the section, you're going to learn about the DOM manipulations, how to manipulate the DOM, all those things. And also you're going to learn about the ES6 concept. Okay, is DSA important to JavaScript? No, the answer is no. You can learn JavaScript without, if you don't know problem solving, there is no problem solving knowledge is needed for JavaScript. Okay, so you can go with that. Okay, so it is not necessary to learn JavaScript. Okay, so and one more thing, so I can replay all your doubts. I give some timing, so I can reply all your doubts in middle of the, after seeing some of the concept, and also at the end of the concepts too. So to discuss your doubts and all those things. Okay, so don't worry about that. Okay, so you will get the assignment at the last also. Okay, so now we move on to the JavaScript. Okay, so JavaScript. Okay, so now I just going to use a JS bin. You can just Google it, like JS bin. What is mean by this? What is this is just like an online code editor. You can consider this is an online code editor, but as it is the main purpose is used for JavaScript debugging. We can use it for JavaScript debugging. Okay, so here you can see HTML. You can write the HTML code. I know that you know familiar with. If I say that H1 and you write some tags, and you can display it in the output. Okay, the same you do in the local Visual Studio Code editor, or Atom, or Sublime Text editor, whatever the code you install in your computer, and you download some extensions and serve your code and display it, right? So that is what it's going to do, but it is an online code editor. Okay, so there is an online code editor, so it works in the online. Okay, so here we are not going to see about HTML. We're going to see about JavaScript, and we need a console, so we don't need an output and then HTML. Okay, so JSBin is it's an online code editor. We can use it for some JavaScript works, all those things. And this code you can able to see your code here, and you can see the output, the console here. Okay, so now you have a doubt, like what is a console, right? So if you're a beginner, you have a doubt like what is a console, what you're talking about, what is that, all those things. In simple terms, I just explaining that a console, just remember the one line, everything in JavaScript is an object. Okay, so everything in JavaScript is an object, so console is also an object. Okay, so console is an object. uh, we have the console in our browser too. Okay, so if you go for our browser, this is our Google browser, and you go and just right click it, and you can click the inspect button, and you can see several options are there, right? Application, lighthouse, memories, and so much of things are there. And here you can see the console. So what is this? This is a web API. Okay, so this is a web API, which means called as a browser web API, where we can debug our JavaScript code. So what is the purpose of using this console? You have a doubt, right? So let us imagine, like you have 1,000 line of code. Okay, you have to write 1,000 line of code in JavaScript, and you need to debug in the middle. Like for example, I want to, if I want to click something, I need to show something. Okay, so that is the action I want to do. I need to check. Okay, so at the end of the code, I need to check whether it is working or not. Okay, so for that we can use that. So the main purpose is debugging. If any error occurs, here it comes. If any we need to render our output before getting into the browser. We can render our outputs in the console, all those things. Okay, so this is what we do. Okay, so this is the JS bin. So usually we code in the code editor and we see the outputs in the console here. Okay, so but in JSBin we have an option like we can code here and we can see the console here. Okay, so I explain it very clearly. Okay, so just give a minute. Okay, so what is this console do? I explain it. So I say that console is an object. Okay, so console is an object, and I think you know what you don't understand what is object and all those things. So if you are familiar with that, it's very fine. Okay, so console is an object. So in object there is two things is that one is property and one is method. Okay, so it is nothing but in an object. We discuss that later because we see it now. It will confuse that. Okay, so there is an there is a method called console.log. So what does console.log do? So this console.log, what it do means simply whatever the thing we written inside this log statement, it just show the value in the console. Okay, so that is what it do. For example, go with the coding morals. Let's go with hello world. I just say hello world and I save and I just run here and you can see hello world is displaying, right? So this is like debugging. So if there is any error comes, we can check whether the code is working correctly or not, and we can check whether our any error comes or not. All those things we can able to check here. Okay, the same like this in the browser console, it is also the same. It is also the same here. Also we can able to do whatever the thing we need to apply. Like for example, you can see console.log and here you can say like hello world, right? I just press enter and here you can see it compiles the code and it gives me that. Okay, so it gives that work. Okay, so the console is used for debugging, just remind that. Okay, so it's an object and it is used for debugging, and log is a method. Okay, so in an object there is we can have n number of methods, n number of properties, all those things. Okay, so the log, what the log do, it just log the output in the console. Okay, so like here it did. Okay, so here how it did, the same like this it did. Okay, and we also have some other methods too. Like for example, if you want to, there are so many methods in console. We just going to see about three methods. Okay, so three common methods. Okay, so if I say console, and I just press dot, and here you can see there are so much of methods are available for console. So we use the log to log our output, and we have like a table. So it shows the output in a table manner, like outputs in the tables, and we have time and log stamp one. So this is the method we're going to see now, and we have like something like error. So it is most important method we're going to see now. So there are so much of methods is there, and we use most common methods. Okay, okay, come to. So now you can understand what is console, all those things. So now what we're going to see about what are the other methods and what is the purpose of using the other method. Okay, so console is an object, it has a method log. So the duty of this log, so actually the log is a function, so the function inside an object is called as a method. Okay, so what this does, what it does means it just renders the output in the console. Okay, whatever we written, it renders it in the output. The same like this, if I call console dot, instead of log, I say one. Okay, instead of log, I say one, and I just say hello world. Okay, and I just go here and I run it, and here you can see nothing changes. What? There is no changes has happened. And what is the uses of using log and what is the uses of using one? Both have the same, right? So this JS bin is showing like that. But if I click inspect and go for the console, and here you can see this is our warning. So if I use the one, here you can see there is an orange color color difference is there, right? So if I just refresh this, okay, so here you can see this hello world is comes from the log method, and this one is comes from the here you can see that it gives a warning. So it gives in a light yellow color, something like that. Okay, so this is an indication of warning. Okay, so if you get a warning, so it's, if you get like something like this, it shows some indications. Okay, so it shows like there is a warning is there. Okay, so please check out your code. It gives some warning. Okay, and most commonly we would get a red color code like this. Okay, so here it comes from JSBin. You don't want to worry about that. But most commonly we get this sign like console dot error error. Okay, I just run this code, and here you can see it shows me an error, right? So here you can see it shows me an error. Most people get panic when they see this error, right? So actually you don't want to panic when you get an error. So okay, so the reason why we get error, so the reason why we get error means we get error because the computer is not able to understand our language. Okay, so here what we are doing here, we are speaking with the computers. Okay, we are speaking with the computers. So if the computer is not able to understand our language, so it's showing me I'm not able to understand. For example, if I am speaking English, but if you don't know English, what should you do? So you say I'm not able to understand what you're saying, like that you say like, right? The same like that, the computer also showing, just telling like I'm not able to understand your syntax. Just check your syntax, and it also give some hint. So from this line I'm not able to understand, please focus on this line. Okay, so it also gives some hint. So by using this error we can able to solve that. Okay, so don't get panic when you get the error. Okay, so in this whole class we're going to use this console.log to debugging. Okay, so we're going to use a whole lot. So understand what is a console.log. So the console.log simply it renders whatever we put inside this, it renders here. Okay, so that is what the console log do. Okay, so move on to the next. We're going to see about variables. So most important topics as a beginner, if you are here, just listen to it. Okay, so yeah, what we can do, we just and before getting into variables, I just speak about the comments. Okay, so what is a comment? A comment is it's saying like, so the comment is for humans, not for the computers. Okay, if I just comment it out, what happens means the computer will not render any codes. Okay, I just refresh it and I just say run, and here you can see there is no console output is there. So what happened means everything is commented out. Okay, so what is how to comment it out? You can either use double slash. Okay, so double slash comment it out. For a single line comment you can use double slash. For a multiple line comment you can use like this. For multiple line comment in JavaScript, you can use slash, and you can put the multiplication sign, and you can put like this. And whatever code you are inserting in between this, it will be commented off. And what is the purpose of using that comment? Why I need to use the comment? So many things is that, right? So the comment is like a way of writing clean code. Okay, so comment is used for that. Okay, so it's a way of writing clean code. So it gives like, for example, if I'm coding with a number of in a page JavaScript, we code thousands of code. We can separate it. For example, if I want to code for this button, I can simply say that comment like, for example, like this: now bar button. Okay, we can separate it like this, and we can write the code. And come to the next, we can say getting user inputs, like this we can able to separate this, and it gives a neat and clean code. And first thing, and here you want to note it out, this line is not read by the computers. Okay, so it is only for the humans, so which means the developers. And most importantly, this will used for you when you are facing some errors. You need to you just not go and read all the lines of code. Okay, you just go for if you separate it like this, you just go for the particular section, and you can able to clear it, sort it out. Okay, so number one use, this is used for that. And number two, if you are working with teams, mostly in a developer, we work with teams, right? So if you are working with the teams, uh, your teammate is also want to understand your code, right? So for that purpose, you can use this double slash. Okay, so for that purpose, you can use the double slash. And if the teammates comes and if your colleagues or your code developer comes, you can see your code and he can understand. Okay, so this code is for navbar. Okay, this code is for getting input elements. So this code is for accessing some DOM property. All those things, he can able to get that. Okay, so that is the purpose of using the comment. So there is two comments is there. One is single line comment and one is multiple line comment. If you want to comment it out the single line, you can use double slash. If you want to multiply a bunch of code, comment it of a bunch of code, you can use slash star and slash star, and this is used for multiple comments. Okay, I can write like multiple comments. Comment. Okay. Okay, so the everything inside this comment will not render in our browser and also anywhere. Okay, so it's only available in your code editor source file. Okay, it's only available there. Okay, so now move on to the variables. Okay, so now I just going to use this command. I just going to say we are going to discuss about variables. So I just going to name it as variables like this. Okay, so this is what we're going to discuss. So we're going to see about. Okay, so what is a variable? First of all, what is a variable? So variable is like a container that stores some data. Okay, so that's it. That's it. Very simple. It is a container that stores some data. Whenever we want that data, the value. Okay, so the data, value, everything is same. Okay, so whenever we want that value, we just call that container and we get that value. Okay, so for to declare a variable, we have keywords. Okay, so how to declare a variable? We have keywords. So the most commonly we have keywords for declaring variables. Okay, so we have three keywords. One is var, not caps. One is var, and another one is let, and another one is const. Okay, so what these three things do? These three things is used for declaring a variable. Okay, simply it is used for declaring a variable. If you want to declare a variable, you need to use this keyword, and this keyword is reserved keyword of JavaScript. Okay, so we discuss about what is reserved keyword, all those things. Okay, so and you may think what is the difference? So all the three things is going to declare a variable, and what is the difference between var, what is the difference between let, and what is the difference between const? Okay, so there is a difference is that, and var is pretty old. Okay, so var is introduced when JavaScript is introduced. I think 1996, when JavaScript is introduced, that time var is introduced. After in year 6, 2015, this let and const has been introduced. And now you have a doubt like already var is there, var keyword is there for declaring a variable, and now why here let and const is there? Now why let and const is come, right? So you need to understand. So we are in a field of updation. Okay, we are in a field of updations. So you may hear that new features is arrived, new updation has happened in a programming language, all those things, and you have a doubt like why this happens, right? Why this happens? Why they are updating again and again? Why? What is the reason? So the main reason is they update for several reasons. Okay, so the first thing is everything is not perfect. Okay, so if you are going for a programming language, there is a bug is available. The same like this in the keyword var, there is an main and major bug is there. Okay, so that bug is cleared in the upcoming updations in the year 6 classes by using let and const. Okay, so that bug is cleared, and the updations happens because of several other things too. For example, the updations happens because of reducing the syntax to write code efficiently. They may update, and so on. They want to update new features, they update the programming language and all those things. Okay, so that is how we develop. Okay, so that is what this industry is all about. Okay, so the only thing is there is a bug is there. Okay, so the var has a bug. Okay, so there is a major bug is there, and that is rectified by using let. So nowadays we don't use var. Okay, so in common terms we can simply say avoid var. Okay, so avoid var keyword and just go for let and const. Okay, we're going to discuss about what is the bug is there, and what happens, how it is cleared, all those things. Okay, so before getting into this, we're going to see about how to declare a variable. So I say that we can declare a variable by using these three keywords, right? So first I'm going to use var keyword and I'm going to declare a variable. Okay, so how can I do that? I want to call the var. Okay, so that is a keyword, and I need to give an unique name, unique identifier for the variable. So this is called as, for example, in your kitchen, like I think if you go for your your mother's kitchen, so you can see like several bottles are there, and your and the every bottle is labeled, right? So they labeled like this is used for example, this is red greens, red greens, fruits, like that. They are labeled, right? The same like this. Here we're going to label something. Okay, so for example, I'm going to say name. Okay, so name. So this is the identifier for that variable. Okay, so previously I said that consider a variable is like a container. Okay, so I'm just pasting a paper with a cello tab, and I'm just pasting that container name. Okay, so the container is used for holding a name, and I just going to declare a name. I just going to say my name is Hari Prashad. Okay, so this is my name, and I just called it. Okay, so I just called it. Okay, so now this is the actual declare. Now we declared a variable. Okay, so we declare a variable, and what happens here is, here you can see var is a keyword and name is a variable, and that holds the value of Hari Prasad. Okay, so the value, what the exact value is here, and it has a two phase. This is the reference phase, and this is called as the value phase, and this is the value, and this is the reference, and this is the keyword used to declare a variable. Okay, so how can I identify whether my value is successfully inserted inside the variable? How can we check? We can use by using the console log. Okay, I just going to say console.log. We can just say console.log, and I just want to call the name. Okay, so I just going to call the name. So this is the variable, and I just call that variable, and I just done that, and I just go here run, and here you can see my name is, if I call that variable, and this value is displayed. Okay, so that's it all about declaring a variable. And now you can see this is a var, it is a keyword, right? And variable is declared with unique names. Okay, you can give any names whatever you want. You can give x, you can give y. For example, the same thing I'm going to declare with some other keyword too. So I just copy this, and I just going to paste it. Okay, and I just going to paste it, and here I just going to instead of name, I just going to say x, and instead of name, I just going to say y, and here I just going to say about let. By using let keyword, I'm declaring a variable, and by using and const, I just going to declare a variable. And here I just going to give let x is we can say like twd. Okay, so our channel the web dev. Okay, and why we can say like the why, what we can say about YouTube. Okay, so we are in YouTube. Okay, we just go for YouTube. Okay, so like this I'm saved. Okay, so now I just going to say console x, console y, console y, and I just run this, and just a minute, I just clear it out. Okay, and now I run that. Here you can see all the variables has been declared, right? So all the variables has been declared. Okay, so this is how we need to declare a variable. Okay, so we see the difference between what is the var let and const later. And before come to this, and here you can see I named a variable with the name, and I just again I named with the x, and I given another variable with y. Okay, so there is a rules and regulation for naming a variable. Okay, so this is called as keyword. This is called as a unique names that represent the unique names that represent variables, that is called as identifiers. Okay, so by using this we can able to identify. Okay, we can able to identify. So there is a rules and regulation for this. What all are the rules? So the simple, it contains inside this, it contains letter, it contains underscore, it can contains and $sign. Okay, so everything, this is a correct way of syntax. Okay, but a variable should start with a letter. Okay, so variable should not contain numbers. Okay, so remember another thing, the variable should not contain numbers. Okay, don't use number here. If I use number 1 2 3 and if I call this as 1 2 3 and I just run this, oh sorry, if you can use the numbers, but it not in the front. If I use 1 2 3 in the front and I start this, I run this, here you can see error has been happened. So what happened is, a variable should start with a letter, underscore, or a dollar. If I start this with an underscore, it is a possible. Okay, so it is the right way of syntax declaring a variable. Okay, okay, here you can see now it is working, right? So but a variable should not start with the number. Okay, so a variable may start with an underscore, a variable may start with $sign, a variable starts with the name. Okay, so should not start with number. And another thing here, most important thing you want to notice, in JavaScript, variable is a case sensitive. What is mean by case sensitive? For example, if I declared a variable name with capital N, and if I call the name with small n, you can get an error. Okay, it says some J has been out. Just wait a minute. Okay. J has been output. Okay, actually it shows an error. Okay, so what happens means it is a case sensitive. So what is the case, sorry, what is the case you are using here? Okay, the same case should be used inside when you are calling that particular variable. Okay, when you calling that particular variable. Okay, so then only it will be correctly work. Okay, so if you are go with some capital small, it will not work. Okay, remember that one. And the second thing, a variable should not start with a number. So that is the rules for declaring an identifier. So this is a keyword, this is an identifier, and this is a value. Okay, so we can say data. Okay, we can say data, and we can be able to put this is in string, and there are a lot of data types available there, and this is a string, and we can able to put numbers, we can put booleans like true or false, and we can able to put unidentified null. We're going to see that in later. Okay, so this is how you need to declare a variable. Okay, so now we come to and most important topic is, what is the difference between var, let, and const? Okay, what is the major updation happens when we use the var variable? Okay, the simple terms you need to remember that var variable has functional scope, but it doesn't has an block scope. Okay, so let's see what is a functional scope and what is a block scope. And before getting into that, I just comment it off. Okay, and I just refresh this, just run here to clear it out. Okay, so I cleared it out. I will be going to see about what is the difference between var, and what is the difference between let, and what is the difference between const. Okay, so for example, I say that var has a functional scope, but it does not have an block level scope. So let's see what is function level scope, what is block level scope. Okay, so first we go with the block level scope. So block level is nothing but anything that comes with that this closer sign. Okay, so this is called as block level scopes. Like if you are using loops, if you are using conditional statements, that are considered as a block level scopes. Okay, if okay, so I'm going to use an if statement. Okay, so what this if to means, this if it is called as conditional statement. I just explain what I'm doing. So if it is true, something has to happen, like we can say like var uh, var number is equal to 10. Okay, like this, and I just going to say console.log num. Okay, so if it is true, something has to happen like that. I say like that, and I just going to say console.log, and we're going to see about num. Okay, so that's it. Okay, so let I explain what I'm doing, what I done. Okay, so what is this conditional statement means? We discussed about conditional statement a lot more. So what means, if this is a conditional statement, it's like whether it is present or whether it is there, you need to do something, else whether it is false, you need to do some other thing. Like that is the called as conditional statement. If it is head, you need to bat. If it is tail, you need to bow. So that is what actually if else conditional statement. So I say if whether it is true, you need to display this. And you can also put else part too, but right now we not need it. Okay, we're going to discuss about the difference between var, let, and const, so it doesn't need it. Okay, so what is the difference means, I just comment it off right here, this right now. Okay, so if I call this, if I just run this, you can see the 10 is displayed. So why? Because this is true, this is a truthy statement. So this code is run and this console log will be run. And same like this, if I just run again, and you can see, I just clear this, run again, you can see outside this. So the variable is declared inside the conditional statement, but it is also accessible outside too. Okay, so this is a worst behavior. Okay, so this is a worst behavior. This is causes some bugs. Okay, so it is causes some errors too. Okay, because I want this variable only available inside this. Okay, I don't want this variable outside this. Okay, so why it is happening? Because I said that var doesn't have a block level scope. So here we can mention var doesn't have a block level scope. Okay, so it doesn't have a block level scope. So if you are declare a variable inside this also, it will capable to access outside the variable too. Okay, so this is the bug. Okay, and this bug is cleared, and this bug is cleared by using let. If I use the same statement by using the let, if I just copy this, and I just going to paste it here, and I just remove the comment. Okay, I just remove all those things. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing by using the let. Okay, so instead of var, I just going to choose let. I just say let, and I run now. I just clear, just refresh here, and here you can see inside this console dot log is run, right? This console dot log is accessible, but outside this it is not accessible. So here inside is also accessible and also outside it's also accessible. So I say that it does not have a block level scope. But when I use the let keyword, here you can see inside this variable is available only inside. It is not accessible outside the block level. Okay, so it is very good to use let. So this is the reason I say that avoid var. Okay, so simply avoid var. Okay, if someone asks why you are avoiding var, because it doesn't have a block level scope. Okay, so you can consider var is updated to let. Okay, so that is what. Okay, let's see what is functional scope. Okay, so the same behavior, it's going to work how it work with the functions. Okay, so we're going to see. Okay, so I'm just going to declare a function. So for declaring a function, we need to use a keyword called function. Okay, sorry, function. Let I scroll. Okay, so we need to declare a keyword called function. Okay, so inside the function, I just going to name like my name. Okay, so my name, I just want to use camel case. Okay, I'm declaring this is the syntax for declaring a function. We're going to learn all those things later. Just understand the concept. Okay, so I just going to say the same thing, like copy and I paste it. Okay, so your function will not run, like for example, if I refresh the page, you can see nothing is there. Okay, nothing is there because a function will not run itself if someone want to call that. Okay, so I just going to call that function by calling their name by using my name. I just call like this, and I just say run, and here you can see it is available. Okay, so inside that function this is available. Now I just call this outside the function, okay, outside the function, and I just give a refresh, and here you can see it gives an num is not defined. Why it's saying that? Because I say that var, the same behavior here, var is available inside too and also outside too, right? But here I use the same thing, but here var is available only inside. So that is why I say var has a block level scope, but it doesn't have a, sorry, var has a functional scope, but it doesn't have a block level scope. Okay, so it is available only inside, not in the outside. So this variable is accessible only in inside itself, not in the not in outside. Okay, okay. So the same, if you use let also, the same thing will happen. Let's see. If I use let, if I use let, and I just run this, here you can see the same num is not available. Okay, so the only thing is var doesn't have a block level scope. Let has a block level scope, so better to use let. That's it, very simple. Okay, so this is the major difference between var and let. Okay, so var has a functional scope and also let has a functional scope too. Okay, so an added advantages for let, so use the let. Okay, okay, now we move on to the next concept, const. So what is const? We discuss about var, we discuss about let, but we don't discuss about const, right? So what we're going to do, we're going to discuss about the const. Okay, I think you may have a problem, so I just going to use here, I just going to use here some codes here, and here I just going to say this is for const. Okay, so we're going to see about const. So what is meant by const? Const is also used for declaring a variable, but it is not reassignable. For example, if I use let and I say num, and I just going to say 34, okay, and here I just say console.log num, okay, like this, and I just run this, and here you can see I just refresh it, and here if I run this, here you can see 34 is available, right? So I can able to reassign it. How? I just call the variable and I just given equal to, and here I just say 45. Now I call the same thing here, and I try to run this, and here you can see it is 45. So what happened? First it declared with 34, and then the value is reassigned, it is changed, okay, reassigned, and reassigned to 45. So the last value for num variable is 45. So when I call the num variable, it shows the, it shows the variable. Okay, it shows the value. But instead of that, if I use the const, instead of I use the const and I just give a refresh, you get an error, you get an type error. Assignment to a constant variable. So what it indicates, if you are indicate something with const variable, it is not reassignable, it is not able to reassign. Okay, you are not able to reassign that particular variable. Okay, so that is the reason, what that is the difference between let, const and var. So both var and let is reassignable, but const is not reassignable. Okay, so that is the difference. So I think now you understand what is the difference between var, let and const, and I covered with some huge, right? So I think you better understand that. So no problem if you are not with that, we're going to use in the upcoming classes itself, so you can clear it out. Okay, so the next thing is about, we're going to see about data types. Okay, so we see about a variable, and we know we have, for declaring a variable we need a keyword. We going to use we have three keywords, var, let and const, and we have let, mostly avoid var and use let. Okay, and we see identifiers, right? So identifiers is used to name that variable. Okay, and we see about values, and this values is mostly we see about numbers, and we see about something like letter words, right? So now there are so other different types are there, that is called as data types. Okay, so I just going to use data types here. Okay, so I just going to say data types. Okay, so what all are the data types available? So I can say, I can just say what are the data types available. Just we have string. What is meant by string? Naming words are called string. For example, this is a string. Okay, this is a string. I just copy this and I just paste it here. And how to identify whether the variable, how to identify the data type of one variable. Okay, so you can use type of method. Okay, so just say console.log, and I'm going to say type of, and here I just going to say, I just call the variable, and type of is also an inbuilt method in JavaScript where whether it returns the data type of one variable. Okay, so I just refresh it, and here you can see it's the string. So what is meant by string? Anything that comes under double quotes, single quotes, that is considered as a string and given in backticks. Okay, so mostly we can say a sequence of characters that is considered as a string. Okay, so even we put number inside a double quotes, I put 20, it is a number, but it is inside double quotes, right? So if now I just reload that page, it is also a string because it is inside the double quotes, so it is a string. Okay, so the next thing is next variable is the next variable we have number variable. Number variable, simply we write number, and you can write this is an integer. That in JavaScript there is no separate integers and floats or that, only number. If you use decimal, and it also returns number. If you use integer, it also gives the number only. If I say 78, okay, so this is decimal value, this is an integer value, and these both are called as numbers. And we have an another data type, true or false, that is called as boolean values. So it has two things, one is true and another thing is false. Okay, so true values, that is called as boolean values. And we have an another thing called null. Okay, so null, and we have another variable that is called as undefined. Okay, and also we have another variable called another data types called symbols, but that is pretty much advanced concept. I'm sure that you use only when you become a JavaScript pro developer. Okay, so we don't going to cover symbols because it is newly introduced and it is used for more advanced concepts only. So maybe it used. Okay, so this is the most common data types available in JavaScript. Okay, so I just refresh it and you can find it out. Okay, so the thing first one is string. So anything that comes under double quotes, that is considered as a string. And it may be an integer, plus value, minus value, or it may be a float value, that is considered as a number. And if I put true, if the truthy values and falsy values are considered as booleans. And here you can see if I just put null, it shows an object, right? So it is also a minor bug. I hope that they will rectify it in maybe in the future. Okay, so null is also in separate data types. It is not an object, it is a separate data type. Okay, and this is called as primitive data types. Okay, so these data types are called as primitive data types, but object is not a primitive data type, it is called as reference data type. So this is null is not an considered object, but here it shows an object, but don't worry about that. And we have, if I declared something but I don't oh, I think I don't assign a value, right? This also comes under. Okay, just a minute. Just we have undefined, undefined, undefined. I just refresh this. Okay, so and there is another way of undefined too. I just copy this and I just paste it, and I just going to say let, and I just mention this x, okay, simply x, and here x. Okay, so just give a minute. Reference type undefined is not defined. Undefined. Okay, so these are the data types, and you have a doubt like what is null. So null is nothing but it occupies the space, but it says that it is an empty. Okay, so we are saying that like for example, it is the meaning of null is nothing but it occupies that space. Okay, But undefined is it's different. Okay, so if you declare a variable without a value, that is also considered as an undefined, and you can define a value with undefined, it is also considered as an data type of undefined. Okay, so this is all are the data types, and by using the type of operator, you can able to identify what are the data types available there. Okay, so type of method is used to identify the which data types a particular variable is. Okay, so this is for all today. I think you hope you have done with very basics, and we covered a lot apart from the concepts. So from tomorrow we can able to cover all other the core concepts we have available. Okay, so this is data types, and we have also have some reference data types, and some in reference data types we have several things, but most common reference data types are array and object. Okay, so even array is also an object, but it is comes under due to its vast use case, arrays and objects are called as reference data type, and we have functions and all those things, and this is comes under reference data types, and we're going to discuss that in later. Okay, so these are these five data types are called as primitive data types. They are unmodifiable and they only reassignable. Okay, so we're going to cover all the data types and how it works, all those things in the next upcoming boot section. Okay, so that's all for today. Let's see is any comment. Okay, so I think now you can able to, so any queries and doubts is there, you can able to ask. I just put the uh, attendance form here. Students, don't forget to fill your attendance to get your completion certificate. And if you have any doubts regarding the sessions, and if you want to give any feedbacks to me, I'm just take the feedbacks. Okay, so you can if you want give any feedbacks, you can give, and just fill out this form. You need to fill this form for the next 5 days to get the participation certificate in JavaScript workshop, 5 days workshop. Okay, so just fill it out. Okay, so yeah, so now the attendance form is in live. So you can able to, you can, if you want, you can fill it out. Okay. Okay, so from the next class we're going to cover what is we're going to cover some other concepts like uh, string methods, array methods, what is objects, uh, all those things. Okay, we're going to put our hands dirty with all the methods available. We're going to see about some of the concept where we use the data types and all those things. We're going to see all those things in the next upcoming section. Okay, so I think hope till now what we have discussed the core thing is how to declare a variable, right? So that is what variables, data types, and what all are the things, what all are the namings available, like what is identifier, what is keyword, what is all those things, and all those things we have declared. And I hope that that will be useful for you. And uh, and don't forget to subscribe and like. Just give a like and subscribe, it will motivate us to grow more. And you will get lots of things in the upcoming live sections. Okay, in upcoming live section you're going to get there is so much of updations going to happen. Okay, how to print without any double quotes in console. How to print without any double quotes in console. You can use variables like how we use, you just call a variable and you can print it out. Like for example, if you want, what you want to print, for example, if you want to print a number, I just say num, and you can just say 20, and you can just console.log console.log, and you can just call the num. Okay, so just call the variable. Okay, and you can able to print it out. I just run this. You can see 20 is printed out here, right? So you can use that is why we need a variable. Okay, you can in console you can directly give the number to. For example, I just directly give the number like 20. You can see at the end here, you can see 20 is rendered, right? So double quotes is only used for something you want to console out the string, right? So anything that comes under string, backticks, single quotes, that is considered as a string. Okay, if you want to display a string, you can use double quotes. Otherwise, you can use without double cuts you can go. For example, you want to use number, you can go with 20, 30, 12, like that. Any numbers you can use. For or you want to use like for example, you want to use the boolean characters like true, false, you can just go. Otherwise, you declare, the most common way is declare a variable and give an data type in that, data value in that, and you can print it out. Okay. So I think, Sayed, can you get what I'm saying, right? Hope. Okay. So tomorrow it's a very important day. We're going to continue our next part. So be with us, and don't forget to subscribe our channel. So that is helps a lot. And if you have any doubts, watch once again the videos. If you have any doubts, uh, contact the TW team and me. And okay, thank you so much, Sayed, for your response. Thank you so much. Okay, so if you have any doubt, contact us within our LinkedIn platform. It is an best platform for career and development. That will we can try to give answer for your questions. Okay, so we can able to try. Okay, so contact the TW team and all, and TWD team is always with you. So please give us subscribes and give some sharings too if it is useful. Okay, so thank you so much. See you in the next sections. Okay, so see you in the next upcoming sections, and I hope you get an huge welcoming in JavaScript when you complete this workshop. Okay, so see you in the next section. Bye bye. Okay.